Yang share screen. Cek,
Ya Mas Vilo, screen sendiri aja ya, nggak usah di share screen, nanti ribet next gitu.
Oke. Nanti Mbak Alin sendiri aja Mbak Putri. Nanti pas giliran aku baru minta tolong ya. Nanti kita mulai jam 1 aja ya Mbak Alinnya, ini kayaknya ada di YouTube kok anak-anaknya.
Betul, kita mulai on time aja jam 1. Ini ada nggak ini? Sambutan nggak? Apa? Struktural nggak ini?
Kayaknya
langsung
enggak deh
saja,
Mas.
Langsung ya? Langsung moderator nanti ya Mbak?
Ya, ini diskusi friendly.
Oke.
Selamat datang Mbak Ali dan Mbak Anti.
Halo. Fotonya Mas Erwan bener-bener deh.
What's up?
Kapun kap.
What's up, kapun kap?
Aduh.
Ini,
Kayaknya udah sehat, Bu.
Alhamdulillah Mbak, tapi belum tes lagi, belum sempet.
Kok jadi kurusan?
Masa sih?
Kira-kira
nanti jajan terus
sakit
Mbak.
ya? Aku sakit malah gendut, kamu jadi kurus ya? Curang tuh
Iya,
kurusnya.
ya.
Diskriminatif.
Gimana ya?
Kurusnya diskriminatif.
Habis sama aja, mau COVID nggak COVID, tetap gini-gini aja, tetap di rumah aja. Udah kok ini, udah 14 hari.
Udah, ya sip, udah bebas dong.
Aman.
Udah
Saya
boleh
bentar
cium-cium
tuh.
nih.
Antigen dulu. Oh, kalau itu gimana ya?
Mbak Andi kenapa Mbak Andi?
Kemarin Mas, biasa di prank. Kena
Oh
COVID.
gitu.
siapa? Kena endorse.
Anti.
Ya Allah, semoga cepat sehat ya. USM
Udah Mas,
College.
udah 14 hari nih.
kok.
Aduh.
14 hari, udah tambah gendut, tambah kurus. Sehat
itu
dong.
tipuan kamera. Tipuan kamera itu, tipuan kamera. Tanamanku tambah banyak yang pasti, Mbak. Mas Vilo nanti dikelilingin cewek-cewek ya, penggemar ARMY. Penggemar BTS.
BTS Army. Carlina Octaviani. Panggilannya Mbak siapa ini ya? Mbak Alin ya?
Dia Carlina aja juga nggak apa-apa.
Carlina. Salam kenal Mbak Carlina.
Nah,
Nanti agak grogi nih sebetulnya Mas Vilo sama Mbak Alin. Mbak Alin tuh udah beneran setiap di Rizoma Connect tuh pasti Mbak Alin tuh jadi pembicara. Itu Rizoma Connect tuh kayak Rizom Connect tuh kayak konferensinya BTS Army yang riset gitu loh Mas.
Ini ya kemarin, ya antusias anak-anak kemarin saya tak ceritakan di mata kuliah Soskom kalau ada materi ini. Kayaknya pada lihat di YouTube ya anak-anak ini.
Nanti ngeliat di YouTube tadi itu banyak yang nonton juga kok. Udah live juga ini.
Om Jun mau sambutan nggak Om? Speaker-speakernya. Nanti ini Mbak Alin dulu, terus Mbak Rizky ya. Ini Mbak Firly udah masuk juga ini. Mbak Firly Pop Culture. Gimana Mbak Ami? Kita mulai?
Enggak Mas, sudah pukul 13.
13 nggih. Ada enggak ini? Seremoni enggak ada ya? Langsung moderator ya?
Seperti biasa.
Oke, siap. Baik, kita ini ya. Baik, kita mulai nggih. Baik, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Selamat siang Bapak Ibu semua, mahasiswa dan mahasiswi ilmu komunikasi, khususnya mahasiswa baru yang hari ini menyaksikan live di YouTube ya, maupun yang sudah bergabung via Zoom. Yang saya hormati Ketua Program Studi Ilmu Komunikasi Bapak Dr. Fajar Junaidi, beserta Sekretaris Program Studi Bapak Erwan Sudiwijaya dan Sekretaris Program Studi IPIKOS Ibu Muria Endah. Dan yang kami banggakan, dua pembicara yang luar biasa. Jadi kami di Program Studi Ilmu Komunikasi sangat berterima kasih atas kehadirannya kepada Mbak Karlina Oktaviani dan Mbak Friski Nurnisha yang sudah jauh-jauh dari ini nih, Malaysia ya, chapter ini apa Pantai Baru ya, sudah hadir di dalam kesempatan diskusi siang hari ini. Adapun nanti agenda kita pada kesempatan kali ini, saya akan membacakan CV dari kedua narasumber kita pada hari ini yang akan berbicara tentang fandom culture ya, the impact on quality life of BTS Army. Kemudian nanti akan dilanjutkan untuk presentasi kedua presenter ini kurang lebih 20 menitan. Kemudian nanti kita akan lanjut diskusi. Saya pikir diskusi ini yang kita tunggu bersama-sama, jadi biar nanti agak lebih panjang waktu diskusinya, nanti para presenter nanti memberikan sedikit atau 1-2 pemantik ya untuk bisa jadikan diskusi pada kesempatan hari ini. Kemudian nanti kita masuk ke penutup di sesi yang paling akhir. Baik, sebelum memulai kegiatan diskusi atau inaugurasi Maba Ilmu Komunikasi 2021 ini, mari kita sama-sama baca basmalah agar berjalan dengan lancar. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Baik, kita masuk ke sesi yang pertama. Tak kenal maka tak sayang. Mungkin teman-teman mahasiswa baru atau mungkin mahasiswa peserta mata kuliah Sosiologi Komunikasi belum mengenal lebih jauh ya Mbak Karlina maupun Mbak Friski, karena dua-duanya, meskipun Mbak Friski ini dosen ilmu komunikasi, tapi memang sedang tidak aktif di prodi karena sedang melanjutkan studi S3 atau statusnya sekarang adalah PhD student di Malaysia ya. Jadi Mbak Karlina ini dari CV yang sudah dikirimkan, saya pikir banyak sekali ya pengalaman-pengalaman beliau, mulai dari experience, achievement-nya ya. Tapi yang jelas Mbak Carlina ini adalah digital anthropology and communication professional ya. Dia sudah lama berkecimpung di dalam dunia ini dan juga memang concern membahas isu-isu yang terkait dengan BTS Army. Jadi sebelum kita memulai tadi sudah ada pengantar dari Mbak Frisky ya. Beliau juga punya banyak rekam jejak sebagai graphic recorder ya. Achievement-nya juga banyak sekali ini. Salah satunya adalah beliau sempat menjadi presenter di International Conference di Columbia University, New York di Amerika, dan masih banyak lagi. Saya pikir jejak rekam Mbak Carlina ini luar biasa. Nanti bisa, kalau teman-teman juga ingin mendapatkan CV beliau, nanti bisa langsung menghubungi saya atau Mbak Ami untuk lebih detailnya. Kemudian pembicara berikutnya adalah Mbak Frisky, ya. Mbak Frisky ini adalah dosen di Ilmu Komunikasi UMY, dosen kita atau kolega kita di Prodi Ilmu Komunikasi. Saya pikir Mbak Frisky ini adalah salah satu dosen muda di prodi kita yang sangat progresif ya, terutama terkait isu-isu tentang public relation. Kebetulan isunya di luar isu BTS ini, beliau konsen dalam Humas Polri ya, kajian-kajian tentang hal tersebut, tetapi memang kesehariannya memang salah satu yang suka drama Korea dan tentang budaya-budaya Hallyu ya yang ada di dalam yang sedang berkembang saat ini. Saya pikir nanti akan banyak diskusi selaku sebagai presenter dan sekaligus juga orang-orang yang kemudian menikmati budaya Korea yang kemudian muncul di Indonesia pada beberapa tahun terakhir ini. Kajian tentang fandom culture, kemudian saya juga sempat cerita tentang BTS Army di mata kuliah Sosiologi Komunikasi sebagai pengantar sebelum peserta mata kuliah Sosiologi Komunikasi ikut di dalam kegiatan ini. Mereka mayoritas sangat tertarik gitu ya dengan isu-isu yang seperti ini, karena sebagian besar saya yakin mahasiswa itu adalah bagian dari apa yang kita diskusikan pada siang hari ini. Mereka penikmat atau mungkin mereka adalah sasaran dari ini industri yang luar biasa ini terkait industri drama Korea ataupun terkait yang spesifik terkait BTS Army ini. Baik, saya pikir itu pengantar dari saya, tidak usah panjang lebar, kita sudah nggak sabar lagi untuk mendengarkan ya presentasi dari Mbak Carlina dan Mbak Frisky Nurnisha terkait tentang beberapa hal ya, terutama terkait BTS Army ini. Mari kita saksikan bersama. Monggo Mbak Carlina, waktu dan tempat kami persilakan.
Okay, thank you. So I get the briefing that we should talk in English because there's international students who's also joined here. So I'm gonna do the presentations in English as briefed before. Okay, yeah, let me share the screen. Can you check the screen?
Okay. Yes.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, my name is Carlina Octaviani. So I'm a digital anthropologist. So I studied previously in University College London in UK, taking digital masters in digital anthropology. So this is basically my hobby. So it's not have to do with my work as a digital anthropologist, but I found joining BTS Army, there's a lot of academic conference that's very interesting that we can, where I can contribute to use my skills as just digital anthropologist and do this research for fun. So first, I'm researching about, so I'm using anthropological methods of virtual and participant observations to do this research. So I'm not gonna explain all the methods and theories and everything. So just need to bear with me in how I will discuss. But if you want to explore, we can discuss later about the theory. So basically, I'm researching the Black Lives Matter movement in US and also comparing to reformasi di korupsi and omnibus law protests in Indonesia. So I'm covering both. And also previously I'm researching BTS Army on gender and marketing technology. So this basically combined both my knowledge from that two research. So the first one we will explore, like, is people joining army will become automatically activists, or when they're already activists and then they join army. Why is it also a lot of BTS attract a lot of activists to join this fandom? So army itself, if you don't know, it's the BTS fandom. The abbreviation is Adorable Representative MC of Youth. So we are adorable, but also we represent youth. And I think the BTS role in UN General Assembly showcased that they have bring that voicing of youth issues to the global stage. So ARMY itself is a fandom that mostly grew to the digital atmosphere. So they work in media, social media, and interact and grow in there. So that's why their day-to-day activity as a fandom creates this digital intimate public. So they showcase like understanding of each other's jokes, each other lingo, and each other concern, and also really connect deeply on each other in a humanity base. So what's interesting when you do an activism as an army, interesting, usually when it's youth organizations or activists in general, you need like certain kind of legal entity to voice your community. But it's interesting when this fandom works as a grassroots activist, they no need to formalize to legal entity, and then you can just show up on social media claiming that they are army and voicing their concerns on global issues. And interestingly, also for security reasons, there's a lot of activists who also army separate their accounts to avoid online confrontation, cyberbullying, and also online gender-based violence, who usually happen to female-dominated fandom like army. So what's interesting is also there's a concern on reputational risk when the BTS itself as a band have a stigma from the patriarchy community, thinking that there's a lot of stigma of people liking boy bands or their music also being undermined by the media. And also there's using this dynamics use of identity is very interesting also, sometimes to avoid the political tensions, but also voicing that personal is also political, and using the army identity to relate and discuss the issues of oppressions that is being shared by BTS lyrics and also being shared by BTS himself through their statements and interviews. And there's also the dynamics of people who already an activist and then joining BTS army, or people have transformative experience when they understand the social issues and oppressions when they become an army. So it's interesting is the message is genuine. So both parties believe that BTS and army voicing their concerns, and they have a similarities and concerns. For example, with BTS mentioning about stop Asian hate, there's also growing concern in BTS army, specifically in Asia and also in US, like how it affecting their day-to-day life. It also happens when it's Black Lives Matter, because they connect in intimate way that the friends and their thinking army as their friends and communities and also families. So it's beyond fandom. So it's more complex, and how the identity itself is very dynamic, so that you can be friend and be close because you share the same common interests. And the activism is choose to like call for actions. People are voicing their concern, and this interesting is they lead by examples. BTS also showcase when they gave donations and sharing their insights on the issues that they care about during their field life or during their interview. And also they shared similar vulnerability and values that's been discussed throughout the fandom and also through BTS message itself. And it's interesting, BTS also show how they learn and unlearn. For example, Namjoon in the interview, BTS leader RM mentioning that how he unlearned patriarchy through consulting and learning from gender professor in South Korea. So I think that's very interesting. The process of Namjoon's understanding gender equality can also be part of how people can be ally to gender equality itself. And BTS also take time to respond to cases before they release statement for Black Lives Matter and also Stop Asian Hate. They take time to digest and also bring up their personal experience to that and their values too. Interestingly, in digital activism, so people also in army also raising awareness, but also give a safe space for people to learn about social issues. They're not just imposing what's important, but for people who wants to know and be a part of the movement. There's explanations in a baby language that people can relate to, people can understand. And also it's easier for people to share knowledge. And for example, they're creating threads of tweets that explain about the issues, for example, in Myanmar, issues that happen in Indonesia. That's also helped the movement here because international army also aware of the reformasi di korupsi and also omnibus law protests here in Indonesia. And also the activism ecosystem transformation. So there's an example of experience where the participants in my research have never encountered a diversity in day-to-day life, but joining army, she understands a different racial perspective from Black Lives Matter to Stop Asian Hate and understand it through the knowledge that's been shared through this fandom. And also there's a risk in digital activism, although people can see only the glory when we won, for example, match a million with Black Lives Matter, but there's also a risk in doing digital activism. There's an online gender-based violence because this is woman-dominated fandom, which often being undermined and discriminate and also being bullied through cyber, because they perceive as people who don't understand the issues, who only do the activism because they want something, and all that questionable issues that's never been raised if it's male-dominated fandom. And there's also there's also cases like in BTS Army Myanmar, when there's internet shutdown and then by the government, and then how they can mitigate to keep voicing the protest through US Army who supports their campaign. So it's interesting how the transnational, I will explain later, transnational support for this for countries' issues also happen through BTS Army. This is also a reflection, since people also who's army, who's also an activist. There's this label of performative activism that's being called out as it was people thinking it as a negative term. But last night we just have a discussion between army that activism itself need a performative activism to work. Like we need people to understand the issues well, and we need to perform to get more people involved. And I think we think also that activism itself needs to be more inclusive for people who's not aware at first about the issues. That's why it's very interesting that Army itself give an inclusive learning circle for people who wants to know and participate in the first place, because not everyone come in the activism in the same phase. There's also people who already done something, but they're not aware what they've done is actually part of activism itself. And interesting, there's a theory from Lee Ji-young, who's driven by a fandom theory. They mention it, BTS Army working like a rhizome connect. So people are connecting from grassroots and then make their own points and share their own knowledge and transfer knowledge, and it's growing rapidly. So this shows the characteristic of BTS Army activism as leaderless and organic. So the growth is not basically endorsed by BTS. The growth by the fandom itself. They have the agency to determine what issues that they think is important, and it's non-programmatic, like when we do program in NGO or CSO. And also it's interesting because there's this issues of youth dropout in youth organizations, but in Army, it keeps growing and adding more youth to the organizations. And also it's interesting that the approach is pop culture, avoiding using heavy jargons and even the terminologies in what people used to do in activism. It's been toned down to be easily understood by a diverse age group and by diverse level of understanding. And also the questions of authenticity. So it's not donor driven. It's all mostly is volunteering, and also the funding comes from personal issues, personal finance. This is also interesting that it's very easy to do a transnational collaborations in Army because we are very close and borderless. So when we do, for example, a campaign, a big campaign like Share Our Meal, where people are donating to food banks globally in 50 countries. So there's a structures of people who organize and also creating publications template, people who provide monitoring and evaluation templates, and also people who support learning knowledge, how we can make the donation accountable for public. And it's also interesting that this transnational collaborations is also part of the knowledge transfer that's being shared through the fandom. And there's a lot of translation of language going on voluntarily to make sure people understand different kind of issues in different countries. But there's also critiques that sometimes the issues is US-centric, so people need to contextualize to a local context. This is what I want to bring as a recommendation. So perhaps if there's a global campaign like Black Lives Matter, there's a versions of a local context and content who make people understand the issues better of racial discriminations. So it can be a translation. Also, there can be contextualized to local issues, for example, like Papua's Lives Matter. And the importance also to make it as a sustainable activism that can be worked to advocate issue is the consistency. But so far we see like organizations like BTS Army Hub Center have been running for 3 years to support on mental health and mental health campaign. So the consistency is also showing in BTS Army, and it keeps growing with the high number of fandom in Indonesia. And linking and learning, there's also importance for different type of working organizations. For example, there's a doctors association, lawyers association under Army. And it's great if they can connect and also learn, sharing their professional knowledge and bring it to the fandom. And also join forces with CSO to deepen the knowledge for people who want to enter the advocacy issues in different sectors. For example, if they're have interest in environment, then we can work with CSO or NGO who works in our environment. So it would deepen the knowledge of people who just entering the activism because they join BTS Army. And this is one of quotes from the participants. This is why ARMY is an interesting fandom to work with, and also to understand how grassroots power can also be used to break the structures of power relation in the world. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mbak Carlina. I'm sorry if my introduction in Bahasa. I no communication with Mbak Ami. No problem. And I interest about the digital activism is the Mbak Carlina present. Okay. Next, Mbak Frisky. Time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Mas Philo. Mbak Putri, can you help me to share the screen? Mbak Putri, what I have to do on my own?
Mbak Putri, where are you?
She's gone. Okay. Wait. Where's the link? Wait, where is mine? Okay. Oh, okay. It's coming. All right. Hi everyone, good afternoon. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you to Mas Jun as our head of department, and then Mbak Indah as the director of IP Cost, and then Mas Filosa as a moderator for today, Mbak Ami, and then all the committee to give this good opportunity for me to speak as a speaker and do a duet with Mbak Alin, who I really adore actually, because like I'm following her account on Twitter, but with my second account. That's what I do. And then I really adore Mbak Alin, not only as an army but also as a woman who support a woman, and she's do like woman empowerment, so that's why she gave me a big inspiration too. So thank you so much, Mbak Alin, to join with us today. And thanks God, I'm gonna be the second speaker, because as we hear, Mbak Alin already explained everything so crystal clear. So I just want to add a little information that I know in here. So I'm not gonna telling about who is BTS and what they do. Today we only talking about the army, and then the quality life of the army itself, why they join and what they do, and what the misconception that they feel as an army. Okay, it's more general, yeah. Okay, now we start with the talking about the fans definition in here, because we have the new student as a new student in here. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, as a fan is someone who extremely enthusiastic about and committed to something or someone, such as like sport team, a gaming, a book, a television series, or an actor. So being a fan for me is not only being an admirer. A fan will appreciate the show, a game, or book, but not generally to get involved. That's the admirer. But once you become a fan, you get involved to them. You have engaged in debates, you have a discussion, you do the fun art, you do the fan fiction, and then you have a little obsession with them and what they do now. And then you just watch everything, and then you just buy everything, the merchandise that you have. That's the difference thing between a fan and just the admirer. So for a fan, an object of what is a passion rather than a passing of fancy. So fans frequently change their lifestyle to match their dedication to it. Okay, next slide, please. Now, we come to this slide. Let's to be honest. I believe any of you will have someone or something that you really love to. Like me in here. Is any one of you know the Able AVAL is stand for the adult fans of Lego. So who take Lego very seriously. For them, Lego is not only a toys. Okay, they have the obsession about the Lego. So they call it, the fandom name is AVAL. So on the other fan community like Laziale, Mas Jun as a sport game fans, I want to tell you that I'm a Laziale. I'm a fan of Lazio. So I hope you also enjoy the Liga Italia. And then the Moonies for the fans of Sailor Moon. And then also the Little Monster for the fans like Mother Monster Lady Gaga. So everyone must have things that they really likes and voluntary to get involved in these activities, let alone with many people who have the same preferences. So any one of you, I believe you will like something and then you get involved to them. So it's not only happen into the BTS army. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, now when we're talking about the fan culture in here, fan culture is a type of participatory culture that encourages and promotes fan action interest. It arose as a result of gradual growth of the popular culture, and it began a subculture with a science fiction fandom that happens in the early 20th century. If you know the Star Trek is introduced in 1960 and finally materialized as prominent cultural form. So that's why a fan culture starting when Star Trek, the film television, in 1960. Okay, next slide, please. Now we move into the fandom, Divination. Fandom refers to the group of fans who have a similar interest, even though many of them never met and will never meet to one to another, like what I see when I join into the BTS army BTS. I never meet them in personal, but we just talking and then discuss, and then we just like sharing the information and do something about what can do to make this a little better for the world. Let's say when the BTS featuring the Megdi and then the bad situation happened, everyone is blaming like the army who like buying and do the everything and chaos. So what we can do to do this. So that's why they do the charity and give the vaccination into the Gojek drivers, riders. So fandom actually is all a consuming, serving a springboard and further exploration as a fan fiction. Example include the convention attendance, recap writing, role playing. That's what fandom do. This type of fandom has a passion that links devotee into the same way. Individuals and share a secret that one they sharing into any social media that they have, such as like Wikipedia, Tumblr, Twitter, and then the and other social network that allow of fans or the fandom to stay in touch with one to another, and remain to speed up with and then about the object that they very interested. So in popular culture and fan culture, actually they have a very synergetic relationship. So fans' perspective and opinion impact the artist's creativity, and since they surpass and frequently hardest the critics, the fandom, on the other hand, fits on the artist's creation. I mean, they buy the things from their idol, so they just give and take. That's what is going on between the fandom in here. So next slide, please. Maybe I'm not gonna talking about this because Alin already talking about the fan activism. So I'm not gonna add anything because that's very crystal clear what I hear from Alin. So next slide, please. Okay, now we're talking about the fanaticism in here. Fanaticism is something like more than like fans do. The word fans which come from the word fanatic, assumption from the Latin fanaticus can mean worshippers or servant in the temple. But however, the meaning of the word eventually has a negative connotation as the obsessive madness. So fans in here are often labeled as a cultural dupes or cultural imitator, social myth thieves, and then fanatic is close to saying the excessive obsession. And again, this is not only happening specifically for ARMY, but also to the another fandom. So let's say in here, can you see the picture? I believe all of you, especially from the baby boomers and then the X generation or millennial generation, know who is she? Who is he? He is John Lennon. Do you know what happens to him? No, okay. I'm just want to tell you. Mark David Chapman, a Beatles fan, assassinated John Lennon from the Beatles. After kill Lennon, so the Chapman shoot the Lennon. Chapman said he took the title, the song Imagine, very personally. So he said, he told us, he in here refers to Lennon. Lennon told us to imagine. There's no possession. There was no, because he was with $1 million, yacht, farms, and country estates. He loved a people like me, who has believed the lies and brought the record and built a big part of their lives around his music. So in here, Chapman feels like the idols love to him and his life. So that's why he decided to kill the Lennon. And then maybe for those people who don't know this song, the title is Imagine, written by Lennon and then singing by the Lennon. A pieces of good music tell us about if there was no heaven, no hell, no country, no religion, perhaps the world would be better because there's no sacrifice, no people get hurt, no people have to die. So Mark in here, Chapman, is too sentimental to understand this song. And then they come with the idea, instead of imagine if there's no heaven, he think that why not we imagine if John Lennon was died. So that's why Chapman finally shoot the Lennon at 8 December 1980. So fanaticism is different with fandom in here. We can finally easily find fanatic fans. In Korea, we also know about Sasaeng, who try to stand out in this scary and creepy way, such as like attempting kidnapping, forced to kissing, sending blood letters, stalking, and everything. Okay, Mbak Putri, it's okay. We still on fanatism. Okay. No, still in fanatism. And then, okay, fanatism is not only happen into the army of BTS. So can they be an army, the fanatism in here? No, yeah, I might say the fanatics or Sasaeng in here is not the army, but I must say they are criminals. So that's different thing between obsession, too high obsession with the army. Okay, now we move into the next slide. Okay, next. Okay, yep. Next, yeah, it is. Now we're going into the army BTS stereotypes and misconception in here. Many studies have concern about army BTS. You can find really easily into the Google Scholar who teach or do a research about the army BTS. For example, I find in here, there are a research done by the Sari from Bandar Lampung, which have conducted a teenager from 10 to 90 years old as a sample. There are 100 people show the influence of Korean culture of change in adolescents' behavior. Teenagers are willing to spend the money and follow the culture lifestyle, such as wearing clothes, having the same thing as their idols, excessive fan behavior, and then their love is considered like irrational, fanatical, ally, and not nationalist. That's what happened to the result in here, the research result in here. Sari research or the other research does not mean that is wrong. It might right, but it's very dangerous to generalize that it happens to all of the army. That I want to emphasize in here. So as if denying the existences of the other army that are intelligent, they are rational army. One of which is Mbak Alin in here, as we can see, and it's also easy to find army that got a professor title actually. However, in the context of industry and consumerism, in here, army BTS can also to be a victim, because in Barker books, fans also act as audience, are considered as a target of industry manipulation in here. So also I want to emphasize that can be happen. So we have to have so many perspectives to see what happens to the army of BTS. So if you still have something in your mind that army BTS feather away their time and money, they are irrational, they are unpatriotic, not nationalists, and then they are not, you might see another perspective about the army of BTS. So please be objective to see something in here. Okay, next slide, please. Next slide. Okay, there's a lot of army activities. For example, the special anniversary project celebrating the anniversary of BTS debut, or the anniversary about the army BTS. And there's also a project to each member's birthday. And then there are also a charity, like Mbak Alin already told, education advocacy program. There was a various form of activity, such as like planting tree, donation for natural disaster, disease, vaccination, blood donation, pet food, and save the animal. The education are also giving the scholarship of free learning English and Hangul. And the advocation more on the mental health that encourage everyone to love yourself first. So this is the activity that they have been done, and this is have been done not by the BTS, but this is done by the army, the fan of BTS. Although I'm sure they do this because they get inspired from the BTS. Okay, next slide, please. Okay. This slide, I'll deliberate choose 2019 because there was an opinion that BTS army become big because they are getting bigger. They think that they're getting bigger because of the pandemic. So that's why I choose the data from 2019 to show you that actually before the pandemic, this is the proof that previously BTS and army have contributed a lot. So the research and the comment that underestimate, but is it really represent who the real army BTS is? Can the news result and then the netizen assumption and opinion about who is army BTS can be generalized to all of us? So in this position, I want to ask you, did army BTS get a proportional position in here? Or maybe BTS army just becomes an object to be underestimated by anyone. So that question for you all to answer or think about. So next slide. So I think that's all. Thank you so much for listening. So Borae. Thank you.
Thank you, Mbak Frisky and Mbak Alin, from the nice and good presentation. And the next question to all participants, do you understand about the fandom culture, especially to BTS Army? And I think, and I hope you have many questions and statements about the fandom culture or BTS Army. Okay, today I open 2 or 3 session, yeah, to your share about statement or question, yeah. Okay, the first session from Mbak Ami, yeah, to Mbak Alin and Mbak Anti, yeah. What are Army Indonesia strategic step in addressing fan-based conflict? Okay, please immediate response from Mbak Carlina or Mbak Frisky.
Mbak Alin, please.
Mbak Alin, please.
Yeah. For Army in Indonesia is very diverse. You need to understand first that we came from a different age group and different background. So, but what interesting is about Army itself, the culture is open to critique, and also it's not intimidated by big following numbers of fan base account. So when there's a trouble or there's a challenges, there's also people who still questioning the fan base for accountability, and also requesting more information, explanations if they say something problematic, which caused the fandom to have misperceived. Because what we need to see also that BTS Army is communities that often being undermined and also misrepresented in the public and media. So this fandom is very careful when there's a representations that might get caught in troubles. For example, there's one case on cryptocurrency when people use a giveaway in the name of Army fandom, Army fan base, using the accounts for crypto mining, and people are challenging the idea of and then questioning the accountability of fan base giving that address and collecting data of fandom itself to be given by external parties who's not part of the Army fandom. So that is the challenge. They keep challenging the fan base on what to do, and then questioning people who do the giveaways and also data mining for Army fandom. So I think that ways they give critiques and also explain to people who don't understand what it means of data privacy, data security, because in Indonesia it's something that being less discussed, especially people thinking that if you want to have, for example, album for free, and then it's okay to give away your data for this, and then not questioning and then also addressing what is important. So they give also transfer knowledge with baby language, of course, explaining what is cryptocurrency, what is data mining, and then what is privacy, why is it important to keep our data safe. But they also challenge the fan base itself, why they are doing this. Are they profiting from BTS Army? And are they really an army? Even questioning that also for the admins. So I think it's very interesting, especially from external parties who wants to use Army Cloud to get popularity in social media. They also question that. And I think it's a good way for people to challenge misrepresentations and also using the cloud for criminal reasons, or perhaps things that scamming or other things that might be addressed. And Big Hit also later announced about the issues and also sue people who will do the defamations and also do scamming on cryptocurrency.
Okay, thank you, Mbak Alin. Mbak Frisky?
Okay, I just want to add, but this, based on my experience in here, as I saw on social media, like I know there are like fan-based conflict between the army and then the EXO in like I heard about that, but based on my experience, I never found that they are like trying to do the really obsessive like discussion and then trying to insult them. So I might say the army in here only like when they have a conflict with another fandom, they only like spreading the positive vibes in here. They only like helping them to give knowledge and encourage them to know better about the BTS in here, why they love the BTS, and then like trying to find the disadvantage to become the other fandom rather than the BTS. So I don't know. I can do the generalize also in here because that's only what I saw into my bubble digital in here. So my bubble never goes into the someone who is army and then trying to insult the other fandom. So they just like spreading positive ways, and then okay, this is what the funny things the BTS done, and then spreading about the cute things about the BTS members. I don't find like they are really have a strategy. This is what we gonna do to beat them. So I don't find that into my bubble in here. So but maybe Mbak Alin will know get a better picture because I'm trying, like that's only happened into my experience. So that's what I'm doing also into my social media. I'm never like really stand out into something until I really know what happens into the situation. So I just wait into the perfect time, and then I can find the perfect way to explain what happens into the situation that might be underestimated by the others who doesn't know about BTS or ARMY. I think that Ami.
Yeah, perhaps I would like to add on the fan war things. What we should be careful about on interacting in social media, that social media platform itself promoting algorithm bias, that they promote negative contents, fan war, toxic, and fast account that's bringing negative comments and triggering people to have a unproductive debate on or wars, because it's good for the engagement for the platform itself. It's good for the traffic. So I think we need to be cautious that when we're interacting in social media, if negative things are more often being promoted by the platform itself, it gets to the trending, it gets to the highlighted tweets. So we need to be aware that this algorithm bias that's been happening in social media platform.
Okay, thank you, Mbak Alin. Okay, okay, all participants. Question? Do you have question or statement about BTS ARMY or fandom? But if I hear about the fandom, I remember Mas Jun. Yeah. Mas Jun concerned about the fandom, yeah, fandom in this the football fans, yeah. Maybe Mas Jun can share, yeah, a little statement about the maybe BTS ARMY or the relate, yeah, or about the fans, yeah, fans in the football. Please, Mas Jun, can you share about your statement?
Okay, thank you, Mas Philo. Thank you, Mbak Alin, Mbak Priski, on very interesting presentation. Actually, I am a football fans. Okay, this is my room, and I collect a jersey from local football fans in Indonesia. And I special to local football fans in Indonesia, not in the foreign, because I think it's so interesting to make a research about fandom. Okay, my research in football fan, so that in Indonesia there is a new phenomenon in football fans in Indonesia. It's about the football fan Indonesia that use social media against Indonesia Football Federation. For example, my dissertation is about how Bonek is the fans from Persebaya, use media sosial, use the to mass action for protesting Indonesia Football Federation when there was conflict between Indonesia Football Federation and Persebaya. And second, in Indonesia there is a very interesting phenomenon that football fans in Indonesia with their own community media. Especially they use internet, they use media sosial, they use vlog, podcast, and other. And in Indonesia, it's interesting because in any case in Indonesia, the media that organized by football fans is performed better than the media that organized by club in Indonesia. So I made a research about how football fans in Indonesia build their own media or community media. Okay, I'm sorry, my research focus on football fans, not fandom in football fans. But I think it will be interesting that we discuss about fandom in everything in Indonesia. Okay, besides I am football fans, I am maybe I fandom from grunge era because I was the generation from 90, the era when Pearl Jam, Nirvana, Soundgarden, or flannel generation, or Seattle Sun. And so it's inspiring me. The grunge music still inspiring me until now. How I use my clothes, for example, I choose flannel for my fashion inspired by grunge music. And as my experience, my fandom start in the in the junior high school. Okay, I like grunge music, football, local football start from junior high school in the 90s, and still inspiring me until now. Thank you, Mas Pilo.
Okay. I interest about the Mas Jun research. Mbak Alin, can you share about the characteristic from the BTS Army compare from the many fans, maybe many fans in football or fans in maybe in culinaire. How about the characteristic unique from the BTS Army?
Okay. So I'm not studying other fandoms. So my studies focus previously my undergraduate thesis is on metalheads and underground punk in Bandung. So I don't understand other fandoms. So I'm just gonna explain the characteristic that I know from Army. Army is a digital savvy because the fandom itself grow in social media, and they have a deep understanding on how they can move around doing digital activism. And also previously before they also have deep knowledge on how to work in different kind of social media platform, how to get things trending, how to understand the algorithm. We also have like a data scientist and data research who provide strategic analysis of each platform when we want to target something. For example, if you want to reach Hot 100 #1 in Billboard, we also are studying the algorithm and understand and structurize. So the fandom itself, although it's leaderless and organic, it's very it consists of people with diverse background, which bring their professional skills to the fandom. For example, we have Indomie Bar Association, a legal who support legal educations for Army. They basically lawyers who understand entertainment industry, who understand law itself, and also protections for women and from online gender-based violence. Because I think that's also the important parts of Army fandom, because people will misread this fandom because there's a biased gender in our society, and everything that can be undermined and looked down upon because there's this a case of why it's different from, for example, football, when how people will view. For example, there's a case when there's a chaos in football in UK, and then there's Army concert, people comparing like how Army behave in Wembley, but people will see that Army as hysteric. Well, although they're exactly in a concert, they have every right to scream in concerts. While, for example, people who trespassing the Wembleys to watch the football can only be seen as just a negative small parts of the component of fandom. While in women fandom, it can be generalized to all of the women who who's in the fandom. So yeah, we need to be careful when we see the fandom itself. There's a bias on algorithm, there's a bias on gender, and also there's a bias how media frame women fandom in their writings.
Okay, thank you, Mbak Alin. Okay, a question from YouTube, yeah, from Dalkaji. Hello, I want to ask about how do we educate or deal with local blame, hatred, and toxicity. Thank you. Okay, please, Mbak Frisky or Mbak Alin. The question
I think
from YouTube.
Mbak Alin is no better
Alin.
than me, so go with
Okay,
Mbak Alin first.
please, Mbak Alin.
Okay, so there's a strategic part that's coming from Jin Hali's research on BTS Army. So Jin Hali is a US professor on data research. So they use, most of the fan war usually comes from misinformation and disinformation circulating through social media. Because the material itself using Korean language, sometimes there's a problematic way to translate it and to frame the informations and make it to give like a pivoting from the original means of the text itself. So there's a problem in mistranslating, misrepresentation of data, and things that needs to be addressed in fandom growing in social media. So there's this strategy that they use is like, for example, you need to check which one of the account who spread misinformations. And then you have to do like a digital detox to ensure that your environment for your interactions in social media is safe from people spreading misinformations, also triggering for fan wars. Check your following list. Which one is sharing the misinformations, and then check the source of the information itself, whether it's a data that's misrepresented, or can you read yourself the news itself? Is it a translation news, which you cannot verify the source of the information itself? You also need to be careful on the framing of translations itself in this fandom, especially because we're not Korean. Korean is not our first language. And there's also strategic on like verifying to your close peer group, ensure that your group is the one who supports like healthy fandom culture. And you can also check within your group whether they already cross-check and verify the informations before they're spreading out. Because sometimes fan wars comes from this misframing and misinformations, and that's been circulating. There's also interesting things that's been going on. It's a new things that's been discovered in China. There's also there's these organizations who focus on defaming artists. So they paid by a company to to produce bad publications to attack one artist when they have competitions between artists. It's happening in China. Perhaps this also can happen in other countries. And so they use like a digital trolls to make sure they comment negatively in each of the artists' posts. So we need to be aware that this diverse practice on entertainment industry that we need to be aware of. And also we also as a fans, we need to be careful on informations that we share and informations that we receive, especially since we're not using the language in our day-to-day conversation.
Okay. Prissy?
Okay, thank you, Mas Philo. Thank you, Dalkaji, for the question. That's question very good question, because it happens all the time, because we have to deal with someone who really hate the army. But like Mbak Alin say, you must go check and recheck about the references, and then be careful when you do the translation. And then the main problem is they're gonna hear us? Are they want to be educated by us? So that's the main point in here, because mostly when they hate something, they don't want to hear anything. So that's the main problem in here. So as far as you can find a good references, you can find a good professor who telling a very logic and very objective and very academic, but are they gonna listen to you? So don't waste your time. If they want to hear you, that's good. But if they don't want to hear you, so just give it up. So just give up. You just do your thing. You hate it. Yeah. For me, I just want to see that I want to ask, are they wanna listen to you? So don't waste your time to educate them if they don't want to. Okay? That's for me, Mas Philo.
Oke, oke, thank you Mbak Firly dan Mbak Alin. Oke, next question from Mbak Firly, from England. Hi Mbak Alin and Sis Anti, it can be seen the recent fandom activity by ARMY can be also understood as the formation of transnational cyber nationalism. The members are located in more than 100 countries, but ARMY members strongly support BTS as the citizen of an imagined transnational fandom sphere. Could you elaborate and explain the situation as interesting this in fandom culture? Please, Mbak Alin.
I think it's very interesting how ARMY move as a transnational communities beyond borders, and how we try to understand each of the other ARMY's oppressions and social issues that been going on in their countries. For example, ARMY movement in Thailand, in Southeast Asia in general, in Thailand, Indonesia, and when there's a protest also in Myanmar and in Korea itself, ARMY from US, we want to understand each of other problem. Also, when we discuss issues like Pakistan and Palestine and things like that, we try to understand what been going on, what's the ARMY day-to-day struggle, because I think it's when that's the important things of having an organic growth of fandom itself, that they have this digital intimacy, that they don't see it as a problem across countries. So they see it them as a human being that they care about, that ARMY is their family. And the humanity aspects move beyond that borders, and they try to understand issues, for example, like sensitive issues like LGBT and also other marginalized community in our fandom, and try to understand their perspective. So I think it itself is a promising ideas of having people to enter social justice issues in which are complex in day-to-day life, but through ARMY. So I want to bring example from my research. This is one participant that's in my source of research. So in her daily life is white environment, people from white race coming from US with a white redneck communities around her. But when she joined ARMY, she understand that why people give protest to Black Lives Matter, and she also educate people around her on that issues. And just during this pandemic, she joined the Black Lives Matter protests on the street, and also organized donation to support the protest itself, like delivering waters and also sharing knowledge. And it's also interesting, the activists in the ARMY itself sharing their knowledge. For example, if you know Hong Kong protesters, also BTS ARMY, and they share how people in Hong Kong doing the activism and how they can be safe when they're doing protests on the street. I think it's important. This kind of knowledge can actually save life, because people who doing the protest in Black Lives Matter use the methods that Hong Kong BTS ARMY Hong Kong are sharing to make them safe when they are caught by the police or when they run away from tear gas.
Oke, Mbak Friski, Sis Anti.
Okay, thank you so much Mbak Firly. Who di UK jam berapa ya Mbak ya? Oke, thank you Mbak Firly sudah di UK menyimak ini ya. Oke, thank you but really, so the thing is, why ARMY BTS going like borderless and transnational in here, and then all right. Oh, okay. Okay, I get distracted because of that. Okay, why it's become borderless for me? Fandom in BTS based on my experience, and then I heard from so many ARMY BTS why they love the BTS is not only about how they look, not only physically, but also about the lyrics itself. They really encourage people to love their self first. So it's like music, healing music for the listener. So if you found the singer or someone who became an ARMY, they might have something that in their life, and then they find BTS music is became their another support to their mental health. So the mental health is very it happens to anyone, regardless your skin color, regardless your race, your country, your nationality. It happens to anyone. So I think the encouragement from the BTS through their song, to their campaign, to their style of communication of them is really encourage the army of BTS to love themselves first. Once you love yourself and then you accept yourself, and then you like to give your love to another. So that's why I found this fandom is different to another a fandom, because they feel like we feel the same thing. We find difficulty in our life, but through this music we can say to ourselves that that's okay. We can still do and continue our life. We can just continue our life. So I think that's the point why they became to more synergetic between one to another, regardless your age. Because I found from the where is it, from the conference that I heard from the California South State University, the army is her age is 68 years old. Can you imagine, like 60 old, 60 tahun. So but she said that the song of the BTS really support her to get through of their difficulty in life. So I think that's make this fandom different to another. It's really like you fulfill yourself first, and then you give love to another. So that's why they give, this is the involvement that they get into this fandom. So that's from me, Mbak Firly.
Okay, thank you, Mbak Firly, Mbak Priski, and Mbak Alin. Okay, any question again or statement again from the all participants? Okay. Oh, Ajeng. From Ajeng Tiaras. Hi, Mbak Alin and Mbak Anti. I have read the tweet on Twitter about mentrification. In that tweet, there is a discussion about the Kaya Mendelssohn's paper with reveals that fan group have been split by gender. In his research, female fans of boy band and male fans of football, Mendelssohn side, these female fans are stigmatized and marginalized in society, while male fans are among the more socially accepted in society. What do you think, Mbak Alin and Mbak Friski?
Yeah, so far mentrification is very interesting studies that you can explore how popular culture itself reduce and remove voices by women who actually built the fandom itself at first. For example, if the fans of Beatles get undermined at first and Beatles itself gets stigmatized by the media, but when men accept Beatles music, it becomes cool, and then it's also impacting the how people view fandom as an expert. If it, for example, if it's male fandom who comments on the fandom music itself, then they will become an expert of the genre and the musicians. But when it's female fandom journalists who comments on the band that they like, it became biased. So I think it's important how this gender perspective sometimes missing in the discussions of popular culture and also discussions on how people perceive female fandom. For example, McDonald case in Indonesia, people don't question why only in Indonesia the McDonald BTS meal is having conflict, because it's only the management of Indonesia who's messed up, because other countries also have the promotions and they also do the same thing, and it's all went well. And even in Philippines, for example, they give charities for health workers together, also bring out how people see this case of BTS meal as how they perceive women consumptions as low and illogical compared to how male consume popular things and also buying things because of their fandom. I think it's important also how media always brings up how women's consumptions due to they become fans is illogical, have a threat in financial situations, and even questions people's nationality, why they like a foreign band. And that's never gonna happen if it's male fandom who likes Western band, for example. It also shows, besides that, there's a racial bias that's been going on. Perhaps we as an nation itself has a conflict how we see people from East Asia. And for example, musicians from East Asia always being undermined compared to Western musicians. I think that's also interesting when we as an Asian itself undermine our nations itself, and not thinking strategically that Korean wave can be used also to promote Indonesian culture, not to become a conflict of nationalism itself. I think it's important. For a very long time we have also West musician impacting, influencing Indonesian musicians, and it gives a broad reference also for the musician itself to understand music itself. So I think this gentrification comes very deeply rooted and overlooked, because people tend to see like beer, computer as a male thing, and they forgot that how women actually have a voice behind this popular culture. That's what we should be aware of as today. So I think the discrimination is real and it's unconscious, and I very understand that some people, even like feminist activists, still do that also. When they talk about BTS, they're still undermining the topic. So I really understand, because it's something deeply rooted behind you as an unconscious bias. So we need to unveil and discuss. That's why BTS Army joined Women's March Jakarta, because we want to bring gender issues of fandom into their perspective, and how people, even destroying people mental health through cyberbullying of women fandom in day-to-day basis.
Okay, Pak Rizky.
Okay, I'm strongly agree with Mbak Alin what he said just now. I just want to like emphasizing in here about the metrification. Actually, it's not only about the woman and woman how they enjoy the popular culture in here. This is also about the gender equality in here. So let's say you can imagine about you can compare between Mas Jun, he is a fan of football, and then me as a fan of BTS, me as an army, and then Mas Jun and me will get a different perspective, and then have a different image between me and Mas Jun. People will like a safe Mas Jun better than me, because they will think that if a woman like me who like BTS, you must be uneducated, and then you must be irrational, and you must be like unpatriotic rather than Mas Jun. But I might say that's happened. Not only about the fandom, it's happened to everything. So it's still still our problem. Not only in Indonesia, but also in general, in global also. So I don't know what to say, because that's happened into our society. I don't know. It still happened.
Okay, thank you, Mbak Rizky. Okay, the last question ya. From Dava Arifenda. As a new army, I would like to ask what we should do as a new army that doesn't know too much about ways to attend a charity army or other. Thank you. And Borahi. Ini apa? Korean language ini. Okay, please, Mbak Alin.
To clarify, is you mean like you want to join like people who organize the charity, or can you read again the questions in the last part? Where is it?
Dava, can you open mic? Yeah. Please, Dava Arifenda.
Or you want to organize, or you
To join.
Okay. So yeah, so first, if you want, army is again is organic, is horizontal. You don't need people to lead you to do charity work. If you want to do it, I can organize the charity for myself. I do like a monthly basis of collecting support for food banks. We have our early childhood education centers under BTS V Fandom, and also Jimin Fandom, who donates to free educations for scavengers and in Sampar and also in Chilincing. So you can do self-organize yourself to do charity, or you can join. There's a lot of organizations, for example, Wings of Bangtan, who are looking for volunteers to organize their charity work. And for international army, there's One in an Army, who organize the global mapping and all global organizations of army charity work. So, but yeah, you can do by yourself or to organize it, or you can join fan-based charity work who already have a team to support it. They often open volunteers to work. And yeah, so we also have like webinar at the end of the December for International Day for People with Disability. You can also participate to join the event or to donate. You can check the hashtag Langkah Hijau X Army and find out how you can also donate for people with disability. There's a lot of charity works going on, which I found it even in the back when we organize it. They really, really know what to do. They really know how to organize and structure and monitor, and for also public accountability, because yeah, they know if they need to be responsible for the funding itself. So I think it's very interesting, like how Army is very meticulous in doing the charity work. And also for example, for BTS meal, we prepare 1 month before for the global campaign. So it's not because there's a conflict in BTS meal that people often think that it's how we guilt trip and then to pay donations, but actually it's not. It's organized 1 month before because it's a global campaign. And we have like a strategy on how we monitor and verify the food banks itself to ensure that the donations go to the right people. So I think, yeah, it will be interesting in experience if you learn from Army charity work.
Okay, Mbak Rizky.
Okay, Dava Arifenda, thank you for your question. Why I just so admire to you, because as a new army, the first step that you take is you want to join the charity. Wow, that's good for you, because the first time, and I think I want to join army, the first thing I do is I buy a lot of merchandise. So, but you are, wow, you're really like really good army in here. Like I said to you, yeah, if you like what Mbak Alin said, if you want to join the charity, you can, the first thing you to do is follow Mbak Alin into her social media. And then you will like because Mbak Alin really active in like showing her passion in BTS. Yeah, she's different with me because so many identity in me, Mbak Alin. It makes me like I can like freely to show that I am the army. So Mbak Dava or Mas. So Dava, first you're gonna do is just follow Mbak Alin, and then the bubble will comes to you, like you will follow the BTS Army Indonesia, and then you will follow another, and then you will follow the BTS research. If you want to do the research on BTS, there are also a social account that that is free if you want to learn Korean, and then you want to like give the advocacy. They have a lot of differentiation. Like Mbak Alin said, there's no the legal like this is the head of army. No, it's very genuine. Everyone can do the charity, and then like December we would like to do the charity for BTS. That's okay too. There's no like SOP to do the charity or join the charity. So that's what I do, because we love BTS, and then suddenly we want to show our love. So we just do it like suddenly. Okay, that's for me, Mas Philo. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, it's time arrived the end of the discussion. Big applause to Mbak Alin and Mbak Rizky. Yeah, the good presentation, good discussion, and big applause to all participants. Yeah, to many discussion, many question, yeah, many statement, and thank you very much to head of communication department. Dr. Fajar Junaidi and our committee, yeah, create the good discussion today. Yeah, I hope all participants have their conclusion. Yeah, because many interesting aspect, yeah, from discussion today, and I hope all participants understand about the fandom culture, especially about the BTS Army. Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry if as long as I'm the moderator many mistake. I hope all participants have and full motivation to learn in the communication department. Thank you very much, and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Terima kasih semuanya.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you Mbak Alin. Thank you so much loh.
Semuanya.
Thank you. Mas Philo, aku kasih saran, bacanya BTS, bukan BTS.
Ya, karena bukan nih ya, BTS Army ya. Okay.
Enggak, aku emang sengaja belakangan aja lah tak kasih tahu. Bacanya BTS gitu. Setiap ngomong BTS gitu BTS. It's okay. Iya bukan kan. BTS. Thank you Mbak Alin. Boleh ya, kok ini.
Ya, baik Pak.
Iya ya. Thank you Mbak.
Ya.
Assalamualaikum.